And welcome back, Hour 2 of Hannity, as we're broadcasting live from the Quicken Loans Arena. We're in Cleveland, Ohio, the third night of the RNC. Now, of course, is coming up tomorrow, Donald Trump's big speech. Ivanka Trump will be introducing her father ahead of this highly anticipated keynote speech as the official Republican nominee. Earlier tonight, I had a chance to speak with Ivanka about this campaign. Let's take a look. Ivanka, great to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, so I've known you all these years. This is the first time I get to sit down and interview with you.
I'm excited to be here. I get very jealous seeing my brothers on all the time, so I had to tell them I was coming on tonight.
Well, listen, you come up last. Tiffany spoke, Don spoke, Eric spoke. Now you're last. Little pressure? Did they raise the bar high?
Don just hit it out of the park, and Eric is unbelievable, and Tiffany so articulate. I know that at 22 I could not talk in front of an arena filled with thousands of people, knowing millions were watching at home. So I am in awe. And Melania, I mean, her poise and grace and how well she articulated herself and the sentiment of what she said, it was amazing. So it's a family affair.
You know, I've known your father, interviewed your dad, and he would always walk me around and say hello to all of you, your brothers and you. And did you ever imagine all of this? Did you ever think he would do this?
It's hard to imagine this experience. So it has been unbelievable and just an incredible journey, and we've all learned so much and discovered so much about this country. It's been amazing. One of the most remarkable parts about this experience for me is really traveling around the country with my father, meeting people from all walks of life, from all parts of our great nation, and sort of hearing what's on their mind, seeing their excitement and their passion and their optimism.
When you saw the crowd's
message, and also learning what their concerns are. So it really is a mind-expanding experience. There's no other way to have it.
You can't really describe it. I've been to every city. I've had that same experience, and it really is, until you do it, it's incredible, because the people of this country, I agree with you, are so great.
And there's such love, and there's such passion, and there's such optimism for what this country has the potential to be under the right leadership.
I agree. When he came down the elevator on day one, were you thinking about winning? Were you thinking about a Republican convention? Were you thinking about him really being president? Did you think, yeah, I think he's going to win. He's going up against seasoned governors, ex-governors, senators, you know, some of the top Republicans in the country?
So I think when he was coming down the escalator, I was just happy I was just happy that my introduction was done, because I was very nervous. So after adjusting to that, I think really in some ways being naive as to what we were in store for over the months to come was a bit of a blessing, because we really just digested everything real time and just were in the moment and enjoyed the experience.
So you weren't thinking ahead?
Well, I will say though that I've never seen my father put his mind towards accomplishing a goal and really be focused on it and not get there. So in retrospect, I'm actually not surprised by the incredible success he had. At the time, I think we were all trying to figure out what it meant to be the children of somebody who's running for president of the United States of America. But the reaction of people to him is unsurprising, in the sense that I've seen my whole life how he will have a vision and then inspire through his leadership all those around him to go out and get it and make it happen. And in sort of a way, he's doing that on a much larger scale for the people of this country. He had thoughts on the issues that needed to be addressed, and that's what everyone's talking about.
It's really a family affair. I'm really close to your brother Don and Eric now. I've really gotten to know them. I can kid around with them, have fun with them, but it's collaborative. You guys are very active and involved. You express your opinions. He seeks out your counsel, but then at the end of the day, as Don says, it's his call.
Yeah.
How forceful are all of you when there's a big decision to be made?
Well, he certainly raised opinionated children, and he taught us to have firm convictions and articulate ourselves and express those sentiments, and we certainly do. We have a unique perspective in that obviously we have a very close, loving relationship as a family, but we've also worked alongside of him for over a decade as his top executives at our family business. So we really understand each other, and we know how we know how we operate and how we think as a group. So we always express our opinion. But I think the way my father processes information is he asks a lot of people what their thoughts are, and he internalizes it, he thinks about it, and ultimately he comes to his own conclusion. But he's an unbelievable listener, and he really appreciates candor. Even when people don't agree with him, he appreciates.
I like to be very blunt.
No, you know this about him.
I know that.
And he appreciates.
He wants bluntness. He wants tell me what you really think. He's very, very interesting that way.
He'll take it or leave it in terms of the advice, but he appreciates people who aren't afraid.
I don't know if you know this, but having interviewed your brothers a lot on radio and TV, both of them say that you were treated a lot better than they were, and that they were, well, that's what they say, that your dad was easier on you. Is that fair?
I don't know. I think they're trying to hold that over my head a little bit. No, I think I was a little bit of a daddy's girl, but I think all of us, we're an unbelievably close family. And
I see that now.
Yeah, so.
Well, you haven't.
But they have ribbed me about that for a few decades.
Well, Don told me a few stories about how he got in trouble, and he said you wouldn't get in trouble.
That happened.
That did happen a lot.
That happened.
Yeah. So you've been a model. Mm-hmm. You're a designer. You've been a TV host, author. You graduated with honors from Wharton. You are the executive vice president of development for the Trump Organization, expansion of global real estate. A very significant position in your own right.
Most importantly, I'm the mother of three. That's the hardest work of anything I do. Yeah,
it is hard, right? I've got 2 kids. It's hard.
They're amazing. So my youngest is 3.5 months old, and my oldest is just turned 5 years old. So I'm definitely more exhausted on a Monday morning than I am on a Friday night.
It's true, right? I go to tennis tournaments with my kid, and I come back and I said, "This is harder than work."
It's so much harder.
The Boston Herald had an article. It said that you are the key to softening your father's image, and that the kids are the key to, but more specifically you. You've read those things before. Is there a misperception about your dad? Because
I think people don't see his warmth and his compassion, and he has tremendous warmth and tremendous compassion, and he just tends to show those sides of himself in more intimate settings, and he's a very private person in that regard. So for me, it's much easier for me to express all the amazing things about him as a person, as a father, and he's probably more reserved in terms of expressing those things himself.
I one time was in your dad's office and we were talking about Twitter, and I expressed a strong opinion, and you jumped right in. You had strong opinions about it. We were just talking generally about social media, and it seems like there's no hesitation to really tell him how you feel. You really just lay it out on the line.
That's true. And he does the same to me, so.
You said your father, this is interesting because everything in politics is broken down demographically. So you have the black vote, the Hispanic vote, the Asian vote, the millennial vote, women, men, and you said that your father lives gender equality. That's an interesting line. What did you mean by that?
He does, because my father doesn't think in terms of demographic. He thinks in terms of the person. So when he meets somebody, he thinks about, are they capable? Do they have drive? Do they have passion? Do they have vision? He looks for the same quality in everyone. So it's completely irrelevant to someone what their gender is. And I know that obviously from personal experience, the way he raised me alongside of my brothers, he never differentiated. He never suggested that the boys go out with him on the weekends to construction sites and, I go hang out with mom at the department store. That he never played into stereotypes. So, as long as we were interested, he always wanted us to be around. So I grew up walking construction jobs by his side. And so I think even just in my earliest years, he never typecasted me by gender. And then I later on went to work in his company where I was surrounded by incredible female role models at the highest levels who were accomplishing incredible things. So it's not how he operates.
When
you see every election year, I can tell you what Democrats will say about whoever the Republican candidate is. It's predictable as the day is long. Republicans are racist, they're xenophobic, they're homophobic, they want to poison the air, water, and they want to take your grandmother in a wheelchair and throw her over a cliff. Those ads will come. Is it hard and painful to hear these things that have been said and will be said about your father?
It is very difficult, absolutely. The negative advertisement, the spin, but I take comfort in the fact that I know my father. So there's no question for me, which in some ways makes it harder, because so much of what's out there that's negative is fiction. But, you know, at least I know in my heart the man, and so that helps.
Yeah, your brother Donnie once said to me that he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. When you graduated with honors from Wharton, you have multiple businesses that you've started that are successful in and of their own right. And he said there was no option, he insisted on doing your best in school, doing your best in business. A lot of kids, and I'm sure you probably grew up with some of them, grew up with money in New York, and they don't turn out so well.
Well, I think he raised us with a sense of gratitude for the privilege that we have, and we all recognize that we grew up very fortunate. We weren't spoiled in the sense that I think we were grateful for everything that we had, but we were spoiled on a relative basis to many people around the world. So I think he taught us to be very grateful, and I think he taught us not to be entitled. And I think that's a key thing. I think so many people I know, there's a sense of entitlement to have what their parents had earned. And he let us know that if we wanted a certain quality of life, we would have to work really hard to achieve it.
I saw pictures of you usually getting in a cab in New York, which is, I would assume that a lot of people would probably think you had a driver. My last question for you, and this is a question I've asked your dad a number of times. We've now doubled the national debt. President Obama's taken on more debt than every other president before him combined. 95 million Americans out of the labor force. That's the worst number since the 1970s. We have 14 million more Americans in poverty and on food stamps. And 1 in 5 American families do not have a single member of their family that has a job. I asked your father, how important is it to you to reach those people? When you're around him, when he's talking about running and before he ran and during this campaign, is that what motivates him? Because I don't hear him say enough that I want those people to be successful.
It's incredibly important to him. Almost half of this country can't come up with $400 in the event of an emergency.
Scary, right?
Have no savings. The sense of fragility financially is oppressive, and I think, you know, we're the first generation who aren't overly optimistic that the generation coming up behind us has the ability to do better than we did, or even at the same level. And that's got to change. So he's always had sort of a tremendous civic drive, but what's different now is that he just felt like he couldn't wait any longer, and he wants to help people, and he wants to help this country, and he knows what he's capable of doing. The only thing probably the thing my father dislikes the most is incompetence, and he sees so much of it, and he knows what this country has the potential to be.
All right, last question. Will you and your brothers go to the White House with him if he gets elected?
One day at a time. We're all very busy now running our family business, but you know, it is an unbelievable opportunity to create change on a major level, but
Ivanka,
we take it one day at a time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
At Douglas E. Show.
All right, joining us now with reaction from the Washington Examiner and contributor Lisa Booth, Trump campaign pollster, advisor Kellyanne Conway, and former Clinton pollster, Fox News contributor Doug Schoen. Kellyanne, I'm going to start with you because of the polling, and we'll go back to Frank Luntz too later, and he's got his focus group out there today. These kids are skyrocketing in every focus group, and they're amazing kids. I know them all. I mean, I've known Ivanka for a long time. It was my first interview. I know Don and Eric really well. They're great. They're all great in their own way. What an asset to Donald Trump.
And voters will look at the full measure of the man. They won't listen to one insult that the left puts out or one thing he said and how he said it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They will look at the full measure of man. And Sean, can't we all agree that at the end of your life, if you've raised wonderful children who are productive, who are sincere, who are great family people in their own right, who are loving and generous of spirit, then you've lived a great life.
But it does. Mike Pence hit this hard tonight.
You can't fake good kids.
Really?
Great line,
right?
That you can't fake good kids, and we all know it's true.
And I know Doug Schoen over there at the end of the table is, you see how powerful these kids are connecting.
Yeah, I do.
And it makes you nervous, doesn't it?
He's led a great life. He's raised great kids. That doesn't make him qualified to be president, and it doesn't make him more electable when Ted Cruz did what he did tonight, which was self-destructive and harmful to Donald Trump.
Well, you know something, but that's going to hurt Ted Cruz. That's not going to hurt Donald Trump. That hurt Ted Cruz. This building
Wait till
up pretty
Secretary
loud.
Clinton uses that against him. Watch.
It will end up hurting Ted Cruz. And what's so important here is we're seeing the Democrats and we're seeing Hillary Clinton do what they do best, the demagoguery, the character assassination. And that's what they're trying to do of Donald Trump. But it makes it really hard when you have these kids as third-party validators. And that's really what they're serving as. And when you have them speaking and telling these anecdotal stories about the father they know and the leadership, not just the father they know, but his leadership skills and his business acumen, that helps him tremendously this election.
May I just offer something? This whole idea of qualifications, which of course you weren't allowed to discuss in 2008 because the unqualified, inexperienced Barack Obama was running. So
the radical I kept talking about, that guy. Yeah,
if you dared say, Sean, on any show, well, I don't know if he has the experience. This is not an experience election; it's a change election. So now, if we talk about qualifications, if you walked around New York City and you asked people randomly, what are Donald Trump's qualifications? They will tell you right away. He's built fabulous businesses. He has great kids. He's employed thousands of people, many of them women. Ask people who were the constituents of Senator Hillary Clinton in New York. What were her three greatest accomplishments?
Doug knows this.
You want to get New Yorkers like stuttering right away? Just ask them.
Okay, I do a bit on my radio show, and I did this to poor Doug, although I let you off the hook more than I let others. But I'll say, all right, somebody will say, oh, Hillary has done this, and this. I say, all right, name 3 specific things she's done to improve the lives of the American people.
Yeah.
Then we play the Jeopardy music. Da, 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 da.
Cue the crickets.
And guess what? They can't answer. Nobody has answered that question ever.
Should we see if Doug can do it?
No. And you know what?
Do we have Jeopardy music on in the...
I don't think we need it, but the
I
truth
can hum
is
it.
she does not have accomplishments. Hence, she's going to run a vicious negative campaign, $2 billion,
Doug,
massive surrogates.
Kellyanne, did you just hear what he said? She doesn't have accomplishments.
I'm being honest.
I know, but
I like honesty.
You know,
Right.
This
But
is
We got to take a break.
She's gonna-
You guys,
She
are going nowhere. Stay right there.
Okay.
We'll come back. More with our panel right after the break. And also, we'll check back in with Frank Luntz and his focus group of undecided voters right here in Ohio. Also, I see him. He's got his glasses on. His beard is long. The one and only Phil Robertson is in the house. Dr. Loudon is here. Rebecca Hagelin is here. Much more straight ahead. Welcome back to Hannity, broadcasting live tonight from the Quicken Loans Arena. We're in Cleveland, Ohio for night 3 of the RNC. We bring back our friend, pollster Frank Luntz, his focus group of undecided voters. Did I get it right the last time, Frank, that 10 people shifted tonight that were undecided for Trump and Pence as a result of the great night they had here?
Yes, and it moved towards Pence. It's not that they've made the commitment. We're going to ask that question tomorrow night after the convention is over. But I'd like to start with one of the most powerful clips from Governor Pence. This is where he talked about the status quo and what Hillary Clinton represents. You all dialed it through the roof, Republicans and Democrats alike. Let's take a look at the highlight of this evening.
The idea was to present the exact opposite of a political outsider, the exact opposite of an uncalculating truth teller. Then on that score, you got to hand it to the Democratic establishment. They outdid themselves this time. Hillary Clinton wants a better title, and I would too if I was already America's Secretary of the Status Quo.
Okay, why was this so good?
Well, I think he took something that some people perceive as a negative, which is how outspoken Trump is, and turned it into a positive thing, how truthful and how honest he is.
I thought it brings out the point that he's not a politician, and that's important in this race because people are sick of politics.
People are tired of Washington. Secretary Clinton has been the queen of Washington for a generation. He hit the nail on the head.
Now, she's been in Washington for a quarter of a century. That also indicates that she's got more experience than just about any candidate in the last 20 years.
Just because you've been there doesn't mean you have experience. That she's been in the process, but she has no experience with the new America.
She was Secretary of State. She was First Lady. She was the United States Senator from New York. And you're telling me she has no experience?
Well, she has experience, but look at her track record. It's awful.
Nelson.
She has horrible experience. You can take a look at one failure after another. You know, being there is not, it's not success.
Rick, you know, she told the mother of American hero Sean Smith that it was a YouTube video. Now, I am an educated American. How could a YouTube video cause the death of your son? What Mike Pence did tonight.
But this is not a commercial, but go ahead.
What he said is, we need to tackle radical Islam.
But you voted for Bernie Sanders.
You know why? Because Bernie Sanders got to my heart. What happened tonight? Mike Pence got to my heart.
With everything Bernie Sanders.
I know he does, but Bernie he reminded me of my father. He did. This guy reminded me of okay, I could trust
Your father
this guy.
is 74 years old and a socialist?
But I can trust this guy.
Well, I think Hillary Clinton has qualifications and she has experience, but what this moment kind of did is it distilled down the fact that she's not going to be a change candidate, and I think a lot of people are looking for a positive change.
Everybody wants
She's not trustworthy. She's a liar. She's a blatant liar. And I keep going back to what happened in Benghazi. She's a liar.
So clearly the message of the 3 days of the convention is getting through. This is music to the Republican ears. But I know that there are a few of you who aren't so positive. Who are they? Come on, there's some of you who aren't so positive. Go ahead. About the last 3 days.
Well, I feel we know who Hillary Clinton is. She's not, we don't know favorable views of her, no nothing. But it doesn't mean that we still want Trump. Right. Trump needs to do something to show us why we want him, why he's
You guys agree with that?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead.
You know, at the end of the day, a lot of people have this irrational exuberance from all the great speeches and excitement, but after the convention, we're going to remember Trump's policies are awful. Pence's policies might be even worse. It's crap with a side of crap at the end of the day.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
All that I want to say is thank you for cleaning up the language. Go ahead.
I agree with everything he said. And as far as Pence, I liked his speech. I liked everything about him. He should be running instead of Trump. But the thing is, and the problem is, everybody thinks it's going to be better with him. And it's not going to change Trump. He's going to be his lapdog. He's going to do whatever he says.
I think the Republican Party is showing a strong united front at this convention. But at the end of the day, Trump's still kind of a sleazebag.
I mean, I'm stunned because you're telling me that you're moving in his direction, and yet you're describing him so negatively.
I think Pence is going to bring the balance that the Trump ticket needs. He's going to yin and yang, and because he is conservative.
Is he yin or yang?
But I think he can bring the unpredictability out of Trump and get him
One
back
more, and we're going to go to the Ted Cruz.
I completely agree with that. I think Pence does bring some sanity to the ticket, and he can't be fired from the job of vice president. And I think he will have some input, whether Trump listens or not. I feel better about the ticket with him there than not there.
One of the key moments tonight was the non-endorsement from Ted Cruz. First off, did you like that?
Yes. I was okay with it.
Who liked it?
Right here.
Virtually everybody around here. What was so positive about that?
It's the principles. If Ted Cruz had done anything else other than that, I would have think he sold out. He spent his adult life helping the conservative movement. This guy is not a conservative.
It was party first. It was not the Trump National Convention. It's the Republican National Convention. Ted Cruz is the epitome of the modern Republican, and he showed up.
He spoke out to people who want to vote with their conscience and said, come out in November and vote how you see fit and trust the American people to make the decision.
I feel like that if Cruz would have endorsed Trump, it would have felt fake.
I want you to see, because it's, again, one of the most successful moments. And I want to remind viewers at home that the higher the lines climb, the more powerful the statement. If it goes above a 70, it's significant. If it goes above an 80, it's an absolute political home run. Let's take a look at Ted Cruz at his best.
If you love our country
and love your children as much as I know that you do, stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
He stood up. He stood for his own principles. He wasn't fake. I would have voted for him if he were the candidate.
But does this impact your opinion of Donald Trump and Mike Pence? The fact that he didn't endorse.
Actually, it does, because Newt Gingrich mentioned that Donald Trump invited them to speak without the promise of endorsement, which tells me something about his character. He invited them because they were his competitors, and then they all came together.
You agree with that?
I do. Absolutely.
Because?
Yeah, I mean, that's what a strong leader does. They're not threatened by people who may disagree with them.
So you actually feel better. A lack of endorsement makes you feel better.
It was honest.
A good leader surrounds himself with good people, and that's what Donald Trump did tonight. They were all home runs.
Yeah.
All home run hitters. Governor Scott Walker was a home run. And what stuck with me was, hey, your freedoms have been taken away. Freedom of religion. Okay, the Second Amendment is getting attacked. Then he talked about our police officers, attacking our police officers. Let's stand behind the blue.
So much has been said about they had to sign a pledge to support the nominee of the party, and we have seen some people are not here and have refused to do that, but these people did come, and they're holding true to their pledge.
Yes. And that makes you feel better about Donald Trump?
It makes me feel better about the Republican Party.
Who feels better about the Republican Party today than you did 72 hours ago? Raise your hands. Now that's pretty darn good. But the real question, who feels better about Donald Trump today than you did 72 hours ago? That's okay, but they'll be disappointed with that. One more, because then we're going to go to the surprise of this convention.
That's the problem here, Frank. We got all these swing voters, and they're up for this message. They're hitting the principles, the policies. They're totally backing it. But when it comes to this candidate, it's like we're putting lipstick on a pig. It's not working for me, Frank.
You are
gotta vote for somebody. You gotta vote for somebody. This is America.
Like
That's the right
Senator
of
Cruz
American.
said, I'm voting down ticket.
And we only have one president. One president. You're an American.
No, but Ted Cruz at least reminded us that it's the most important thing we have as Americans. The vote is the key thing. Don't give that up. That is what everyone is fighting for across the world. It's the vote.
Liberty, DNA. We should all have liberty in our DNA right now. We're Americans.
There are going to be more than two people running. You have Harry Johnson. You have Jill Stein. You don't. We could use a third party. We don't use a third party.
Okay, hold on.
What's the difference?
There's one individual that surprised a lot of you here, and that's Donald Trump Jr. You have a clip that scored very high among most of the people here. And then I want to get into what was so powerful and influential. Let's roll that clip.
The other party also tells us they believe in the American dream. They say we should worry about economic inequality and immobility. You know what? They're right. But they don't tell you that it was their policies that caused the problem, and it was their policies that have no accountability.
So let's wrap this up. America's watching. If you had to choose today, Trump, Clinton, or no vote, who here votes for Clinton? Who here votes for Trump? 2, 4, 6, 7. Who doesn't vote? Sean, there's movement here. Immeasurable movement, but not significant movement. I hear it in the voices. I hear it in what they're saying. And they are more favorable towards the Republican Party. But Donald Trump is going to need a great speech tomorrow for him to really score. Am I correct?
Yes.
I would agree. Back to you, Sean.
Frank Luntz, appreciate it. Back with us now with Reaction, Lisa Booth, Kellyanne Conway, and Doug Schoen. Kellyanne, I'll start with you because this is what you do. Is this what your focus groups are showing?
More or less, yes. But I think this night also belongs to Mike Pence, and that's getting overshadowed by some of the drama that's
You got
being
very
covered.
positive reviews.
Very positive reviews. I think people now see why Donald Trump picked him. Donald Trump makes great choices. Melania Trump, Mike Pence. He makes wonderful choices. I also think Mike Pence...
Did you see the Drudge Report about Ted Cruz? Hell's a burnin', and I guess it's the Boston Herald. Booze Cruz. Sorry, there we go. You know, I mean, he's getting...
But that's my point. If those are going to be the headlines tomorrow,
yeah,
then I don't want to lose the fact that America met Mike Pence tonight, and for his very close-knit, small, longtime advisors, it's a very emotional night for us because we know how special Mike Pence is, and now the whole world does.
I only knew him on the periphery. I did like when I was researching him. I forgot that he had challenged Boehner. I like that he spoke to the Tea Party, the only person in leadership.
Voted against all the Bush spending
everything,
bills.
all the TARP,
No Child Left Behind,
everything.
TARP,
What do you think?
Medicare Part D.
Well, look, Mike Pence has a phenomenal record as Indiana governor, whether it's rebuilding the economy and working with the private sector to create jobs or working to balance the budget. Those are things that he should have talked about right now or tonight, and he did talk about, because what Donald Trump is talking about is leadership. He's talking about positive change. You look at Americans are looking around. You've got the majority of Americans that believe the country is on the wrong track. You've got the majority of Americans who believe that we're going to leave a country that is worse off for future generations. And you look at states like Pennsylvania, Florida, and Ohio, and 70-something% of voters there want radical change. And so that's what Mike Pence talked about tonight, is what change would look like under a Pence or a Trump-Pence administration. And that's what Donald Trump should talk about tomorrow.
Doug, let me say, that she's the status quo. This is an insurgency year.
Right.
You can say that she's the secretary of status quo or the secretary of corruption.
Good lines. Here's the
really good lines.
Here's the problem. Frank spoke about the indecision and uncertainty people have. Granting you fully, Sean, people want change. And what the problem with tomorrow's speech is going to be, there's another big story breaking. Donald Trump said today that he wasn't sure he'd enforce Article 5 of the NATO treaty to defend the Baltic countries, which are full members of NATO in the event of a Russian invasion. This is a big deal. It gets to our security arrangements.
You mean so we're going to get lectures on security from Secretary Benghazi? We're going to get lectures on ISIS as the JV team and they're contained. We're going to get lectures on national security from people that give
$2 billion,
Iran $150 billion.
$2 billion super PAC will attack Trump because he's got to offer a consistent alternative.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. They spent all this money in the primaries against Donald Trump. Hillary's already spent $100 million. And his numbers went up and hers went down.
She's ahead in all the swing states.
So tomorrow,
it's not true. Not in Pennsylvania, Florida, Ohio.
Yeah, you look at the Wall Street Journal, Marist polls.
We also have 92% of Americans believe that Hillary Clinton either broke the law or did something wrong. 56% of Americans believe the FBI should have recommended an indictment. 60% of independents and 1/3 of Democrats.
If they are convinced he stands for policy.
She is a horrible candidate. She has
worse.
She's getting worse. You're right. By the day, she has no agenda. By your own admission, her only attack is going to be Donald Trump is an evil person.
And she's going to be dwarfed by more popular, more dynamic, more charismatic speakers next week. Look, here's the difference.
All right, we got to take a break. You guys are great.
Donald
Good
Trump
to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, when we come back, we have more reaction to night 3 of the RNC convention. Duck Dynasties. Phil Robertson, he's got his sunglasses on, and it's not that light in here. He'll join us next. Rebecca Hagland. Dave Bossie is with us as we continue live from Cleveland. Straight ahead.
The American people are tired of being told. They're tired of being told that this is as good as it gets. They're tired of hearing politicians in both parties tell us that we'll get to that tomorrow while we pile a mountain range of debt on our children and our grandchildren. And as Ronald Reagan used to say, they're tired of being told that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives better for us than we can plan them for ourselves. In the end, this election comes down to just 2 names on the ballot, so let's resolve here and now that Hillary Clinton will never become President of the United States of America.
All right, that was Republican Vice Presidential candidate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, addressing the RNC earlier tonight here with reaction. 2 men behind the brand new movie, Torchbearer, the president of Citizens United. I don't have a Supreme Court decision named after me, my buddy Dave Bossie, and the Duck Dynasty rock star, troublemaker, Phil Robertson, also with us, conservative columnist Rebecca Hagland is here. Good to see you, too.
Hey, thank you.
I know you earlier supported Ted Cruz, which is fine. People had different choices. There were 17 guys. Do you think he helped himself tonight with what he did?
You know what? Ted Cruz has to be true to who he is.
I want to focus on the starved tonight.
I know.
And that's Mike Pence. No, listen, if you love Ted Cruz, to your listener, to your viewers, if you love Ted Cruz, you're going to love Mike Pence. Mike Pence is in the mold of Ronald Reagan. And here's what the appointment of Mike Pence.
Well, then why couldn't Ted Cruz say that?
You know what? You'll have to ask Ted. I'm not going to focus on that.
You were a surrogate of his, an outspoken voice for him.
Listen, Mike Pence is the man for this time. He is the most conservative candidate we've had.
I had no idea how much I would like him because I didn't know him.
Love him.
No, I spent an hour with him, and I was beyond impressed. I was actually, and I don't get impressed very often. The only one that impresses me is that guy with the beard. You know, you actually took your glasses off for the show. You just had your sunglasses on 2 seconds ago.
All Republican candidates that were beaten in the nomination process.
Didn't they give that word?
All of them that were beaten, all of them should step up. They said they would, and they should all endorse the guy who won.
Can I ask you supported, I had you debating your son Willie on this television program. You stepped up. Why are they sore losers?
I repeat, all the candidates that ran for the nomination process, the ones who lost, they should step up. The country's at stake.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on a precipice, fixing to fall off a cliff. The people said we want Donald Trump, and let's get it on.
How about one issue, Dave Bossie? We see the list of Supreme Court justices. Very impressive as a conservative, constitutional, originalist, believing in originalist justices. How about that? How about energy independence? How about building the wall? How about getting rid of Obamacare? How about just the 4 or 5 issues? Isn't that enough to compare and contrast with Hillary?
There's just no question about that. Then just look at the other day. She said she's going to overturn in her first 30 days. She's going to overturn Citizens United, the Supreme Court case, but with a constitutional
By the way, that is not good for you and the hard work you did.
But let me just tell you, it's never going to happen. First of all, she's not going to win. But her priorities are so screwed up, Sean. ISIS is killing people around the world. The Middle East is on fire. Police officers are being murdered in our streets.
Assassinated.
And she's talking about creating a 28th Amendment to overturn the First Amendment. Yeah. It is insanity. Her priorities are completely screwed up. It's why she has a disconnect with the American people.
All right, I'm going to ask a question another way. If you look at the Republican platform this year, it is the single most conservative in the history of the Republican Party. Who did that? Donald Trump.
Yes, he did.
Donald Trump did that.
Yes, he did. And the people.
So Ted Cruz was wrong saying he's not a conservative.
The other conservatives
would you say that?
Who fought for him. Here's what I would say that Ronald Reagan taught me.
You know,
Listen
because
to
I like
Sean,
you so
I'm
much.
trying to answer your question.
All right.
And this is what I want all the Cruz supporters to know. Ronald Reagan taught us that personnel is policy. And what did he do on his very first position?
Yeah.
He selected not just a conservative, but a conservative warrior to be his number 2. That should be enough to have them cross over now and vote for Trump. Pence
and the Supreme. Listen, I think one of the best, smartest, brightest moves that was made by Donald Trump was releasing the names of the people that he wants to replace Antonin Scalia or any other vacancy on the court. How much is at stake there? It was a great call.
Good call.
It was a brilliant move, and now we know we can trust him to actually appoint those people.
And the platform too.
He selected
and Mike Pence too. I mean,
it was awesome all the way around what he's done. Listen, he has Steve Moore and Laffer helping him with his economic policy.
Laffer,
he has Jeff
Larry Kudlow,
helping him with his foreign policy.
Yeah.
He's surrounding himself with conservatives. It's time for us to rally to the cause and save our republic.
So I'm far right, way out there on the right.
You more than me?
Way out. And you say, are you going to use the litmus test since Mr. Trump is not as conservative as I am, therefore I'm not going to fool with him. It's just not a good argument.
No, it's
not.
I mean, I can't expect someone. It's like me. It's like me running around and say, well, since Sean Hannity is not quite as godly as I am, I'm fixed to cull him.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait.
See, I work with you. I'm easy with you.
All right, wait. There's a history here.
Go to the swimming pool, Sean.
No. So I'm hanging out down in West Monroe, Louisiana. I go down, I'm interviewing him and his family and Willie. We're having a great time. And he's sitting in that frankly, that chair needs to be clean, man. That is one dirty chair.
It's got a little dog hair on it, but it's all right.
It's all right. How many years you been sitting in that chair?
Well,
your wife tried to get rid of it.
Actually, some guy brought that up there and backed up and said, I saw your other chair was looking pretty bad. I gave you this.
This one?
Come on.
All right, so you're sitting in the chair. You got the good book out with the letters written in red, and I'm watching you, and you lift your head up and you go, Hannity, you really want to get them ratings up? Come on back. You got a swamp in your backyard, and you want me to go in a swamp that has alligators in
and
it.
film it on Fox News. Somebody little chimps running around there.
Did you hear about that poor little kid at Disney, for crying out loud? You want me to die? I saw alligators in that swamp.
Actually, what's worse are the cottonmouths. We killed 200 in the last 6 weeks.
And you wanted to dunk my head with the alligators and with the whatever other thing you said.
Always remember, Sean, we go to the river, the Lord will protect you, son.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's how. Look, that's what we do in the film. In our film, Torchbearer, he's dunking people.
Yeah,
that's right.
No, you know what? I heard about this. I'm actually involved in a movie project. I've not announced it. I'm announcing it now. Kevin Sorbo. And it's a faith-based movie.
Oh, terrific.
It's going to be called Let There Be Light. And it's coming out in December 2017.
Everyone in America should watch Torchbearer. They should see Torchbearer.
Yeah, where's it? Is it movie
I'm the one who
theaters?
narrated it. My nephew wrote it. Bossy and Bannon and them put it on.
By the way, two of the greatest patriots in the country.
You love America.
Our Breitbart buddies.
You bet.
Steve Bannon. And you guys have done great work with movies.
It's a great documentary.
Yeah. How's things at home?
Great.
Yeah. How's Willie?
Get ready. Willie's doing well.
He's going to speak tomorrow?
Where's
Jace? He never shows up to anything.
Jace, he kind of hangs close, hangs close.
All right. I'll never forget the day you were in trouble, and I called you at 7 in the morning. Jace picks up the phone, and you didn't care. You were out duck hunting, and it was a big controversy about you. I won't remind people. And then all of a sudden, Jace would say, shh, 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 shh. And I'd listen. Quack, 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 quack. Bam! That was the whole conversation. Yeah. Every 10 minutes, another duck shot out of the sky.
We never miss a day of duck season. It's a tough life, but somebody's got to.
All right, we got to roll. Guys, love you all. Thank you for being with us. Coming up, more reaction to night 3 of the RNC. That and more as we continue live from Cleveland, Ohio. Stay with us.
Trump believes, as you believe and I believe, that we can become great again. But we can only become great again if we have strong leadership. And I can think of no stronger leader who will place their left hand on a Bible that they believe in, raise their right hand, and solemnly swear to faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and to the best of his ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States than Donald J. Trump.
All right, we're back in Cleveland and Ohio, and of course the Quicken Loans Arena. That was my buddy, the Reverend Darrell Scott, tearing the house down tonight. And he joins us with reaction, as well as American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp, Fox News contributor Mercedes Schlapp. Do people know that you guys are married? Does anybody?
There's not a lot of Schlapps, Sean.
No, but here's the thing. I mean, because you married so out of your league.
Unbelievable.
Right?
He did, though.
And he's so high maintenance.
I ain't been all along, and I was like, how did he get her?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't understand.
But that's a compliment.
We're renewing our vows with the pastor here, so that's what we're deciding.
You tore it up. I loved it. And, you and I have been talking about your church, and I'm going to come down one day. And
you're going to bring a message?
I'm going to bring a message.
Right.
I'm going to look. I studied theology and Latin, but they told me they didn't want me in the priesthood. So now I'm kind of like a Baptist.
I thought it was whosoever will, let him come and drink of the water of life freely. Everybody but you.
The water, yeah, I was too encouraged.
You're Irish Catholic. There's no way. He's going to.
You did a great job. I'm proud of you. You really did. I was very impressed very impressed tonight.
If I'd have flopped, you'd have got me on here and nailed me to the wall. I had a lot of pressure on me from my friends.
I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of conventions. I think between the Trump kids, Trump family, Mike Pence, that man right over there, this is really turning into a masterful convention for them.
Tonight was a huge night for Donald Trump.
I agree.
We saw the tension in the room, obviously, with the Ted Cruz speech. But at that moment, I think it energized, in a very strange way, the Trump supporters and those that were waiting for that endorsement from Ted Cruz. It was very disappointed, but it was a pivotal moment because it really changed, it really made it real. It made it real that Donald Trump is a nominee, and guess what? We got to back him up. And Pence,
you know what the RNC said? Good for them. I was like, wow, good Reince Priebus. They called it classless. And I got to be honest, I just thought he hurt himself for the long term. He made a promise, a pledge, a vow he'd endorse. He had the opportunity tonight. He was given the microphone by Donald Trump's campaign. They didn't have to give it to him. It was very gracious. And I thought that was just, why would you do that?
Well, you know, it's not a decision that I've made. I think Donald Trump, we got to get behind 100% when I think about those Supreme Court openings, when I think about the troubles that the country has. But I think there's something else here, which is the response of the crowd was so overwhelming. By the way, that was not a Trump response. That was an everybody response.
Yeah, it was.
And
how great was Newt when he came out?
Newt had to do cleanup for Ted Cruz, and that's a unique role for Newt. He did a great job.
That's my buddy. I've known Newt since 1990.
And Ted's your buddy too. And here's the
Ted has been my friend. I've always admired him, but I'm disappointed with him tonight.
The point is, we've got to let that sink in with Ted a little bit too. With the fact that was the reaction he got, and at the end of the day, we got to pull together because the stakes are too high.
Pastor, if I give you my word, and I make a promise or a solemn vow, and I break it like that, what does that say about me?
But you know what? You're saying just what I was just thinking. Not only did Ted Cruz, John Kasich did the same thing. But listen, these are the Christians of the convention. Part of their platform was, I am a Christian. I am a conservative Christian. And you turned out to be a liar.
And by the way, you have got to be
liar.
so happy at this is the most conservative Republican platform. Donald Trump in the history of the Republican Party. The Johnson Amendment was huge.
Having worked on platforms a lot of times, I think there is nothing that conservatives cannot find an excuse not to get there. Mike Pence is the vice president. He is an outstanding conservative.
Look at the list of justices.
He has a 99% rating with the ACU. You look at that platform, the excuses are falling away. The Never Trump movement is going to have to mean a smaller and a smaller.
And I got to tell you, Pence was inspirational. He was Reagan-esque. That's where Ted Cruz lost his moment, lost his opportunity to just step up to the plate. So really to see Pence just take on this role as vice president, it really provided hope for the conservatives. And I think it really gave us a sense that we're ready. We're ready to unite. It's time. Trump is the man of our time, and he needs to win in November.
It's got to be very interesting. You really want me to preach at your
Yeah,
church?
you are. I'm happy you bring a word.
Any particular topic you want me to touch on?
Yeah, Acts 2:38.
What's that?
Book of Acts, when they all began to speak in tongues.
Yeah, no.
We believe in that. We believe in that.
You do believe in that?
Catholics believe in tongues.
Wait a minute. But if I start speaking Spanish, Russian, Italian,
not
French.
No.
That doesn't count. Nice try.
I want you to speak.
No, if somebody has to interpret my tongue, then it's not.
I'll interpret it.
All right, guys, good to see you all. Now, unfortunately, that's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. Don't forget, tomorrow night, right after Donald Trump finishes, we'll be right on the air, right here in Cleveland, Ohio. Thanks for being with us.